The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Blessed be the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you so much. That was so great. Thank
Praise
you.
be to you.
Um, would you be willing to share your rosary story with us? Like, do you remember when the rosary maybe first had an impact on your life?
Yeah, so I think I was in college. I had recently quit playing baseball, and I was getting more involved with campus ministry, and there was a couple of guys that I connected with, and um, I can't remember what day of the week it was. I feel like maybe, well, yeah, I don't even venture a guess, but I would just kind of bump into them in the chapel, and they would pray the rosary, and they were leaders in the ministry, and they lived in community, and so I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm here, and they were inviting me to join them in the rosary, and I just kind of happened to be there at the same times that they were there. So it was like Our Lady just found a way to kind of snag me a little bit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of when my Marian devotion started to take off a little bit more.
It's beautiful. So, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story and how you, because you were really an avid athlete, baseball player, right? And then
Yeah,
you went to college to play baseball, and then you decided to go to the seminary.
yeah. So growing up, priesthood was the farthest thing from my mind. Um, when I when I got to high school in Florida, we got a new youth minister, and the core team and the people that were there that discipled me really just did me a huge favor. I mean, like they saved my life and helped me to really make my faith my own. And they were the ones who first kind of said, like, "Hey, you should pray about this." I was like, "No, I've got plans."
Exactly. I've
Plans.
got a plan, right? Yeah.
Um, like,
Yeah.
uh, it wasn't about at that point in my life. It was not about me asking God what He wanted me to do with my life, which I think is like kind of Christian Basic 101 that we miss.
Yeah.
Like we don't tell people like, hey, we shouldn't be telling people like you can be whatever you want to be when you grow up. Like that's not the worst thing in the world to do to somebody. But like the best thing that you can do for them would be to say like, God knows what's going to make you the happiest person alive. What's going to like fulfill you, you should ask him what he wants you to do because that's going to be the best thing. And it took a while for my brain to kind of like
Yeah.
some conversion in that area. Um, and yeah, once I became open to it, I started thinking about it, praying about it, learning more about what the priesthood really is. I started to get curious and intrigued and then kind of like desired it, but I was desiring it amongst other desires. There's a lot of competition there. Um, so it came to a point where I was like, I've walked down this road towards baseball and towards like communications and towards marriage and like there's this other road that I've just sort of been looking like, hey, what's down there? I need to go for a little walk, and so the farther down that road I started to kind of like venture out and come back and venture out a little farther and come back. I was like, yeah, I need to commit to this for a while. So that's when everything else started kind of being detached. And a lot of pruning, tough season, but totally worth it. And so when I was, after my sophomore year in college, I transferred to seminary. And yeah, since you asked for a little bit of my story, that's what I'll give you. You get to seminary and then you go through all the
Right. Right.
formation for 8 years. And I've been a priest now for 7 years. It's my third parish, and it's been an awesome journey. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Do you often feel spiritually attacked? Because my sister and I feel that often with this platform. So,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know if I would say like often, but like I guess it depend on like how you
Yeah.
want to define that, right? But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different challenges, whether they're just me and my own stuff, or whether it's spiritual in nature, and it's like, yeah, this is sort of like demonic
Right.
feeling, um,
Right.
or just somebody else and their stuff that gets in your way, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, man, why are you doing that?
we're all human, right? We all kind of have our own like shortcomings and
Yeah.
whatnot. But
Kristen, how did you get into doing this?
uh, so
This is fantastic.
oh yeah, thank you. So I actually we lived in Chicago with um, five little ones at the time, and we were at a parish that had a rosary group that was really phenomenal. I didn't really know the women well, but it really formed these authentic friendships and relationships. And then we moved, and I also work and have like a corporate job, and we moved out to the suburbs, and I think I felt this sense of loneliness, and so I wanted to start kind of like a rosary group, but I was new to the area, and so that's how I launched One Hail Mary at a Time. And my sister and I, we kind of had this wild idea to create these virtual rosary groups because we found it's so difficult for people to meet up, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes easier through the technology. So we did that over a summer, and that was probably like 2.5 years ago. But it was a lot of work because we had like 1,000+ people sign up. So trying to pair them and whatnot. So the month of the Rosary, October 7th, it was a year and a half ago. We just went live on Instagram. We felt like weirdos for a good 100 days, but the people are so amazing. And, along
Yeah.
with Mary kind of giving us the graces and the strength to continue. So there's
That's
lots of
powerful.
things.
Yeah, I heard about y'all at my former parish where I was an associate for 5 years, and so like when this came out, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to go and do this thing?" I was like, "Yeah, like I'll get to pray with all my former parishioners because they all love that thing. That'd be great."
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. So I'm curious, going back to when you felt this call, and you also mentioned how, right, self-help, I feel like is in great demand these days, but I think God should really be the number one most form of self-help, right? We should really
Sure.
go to him, right? And ask him what he wants of us.
Yeah.
But often nowadays it's more like, well, what is my passion and what is it that I want to do? Because I felt very conflicted with that in my 20s. And if somebody is feeling that tug and that pull, like how did you find like the community almost? Like you were feeling this pull, but you were playing baseball, right? And how did you even like teammates, I'm going to go do this? Like what kind of gave you the strength to do that? Or is it kind of like you just pray for the resources to come to you and he gives you the strength? I'm just
Yeah,
thinking
God
of it.
was really good to me. Um, that strong foundation that was laid throughout my high school years. I mean, right at the end of high school, when I was kind of like saying, "Okay, this is what I'm going to set off and go and do,"
Right.
I had this feeling of like, man, maybe this isn't it. It wasn't like kind of signing on the dotted line
Yeah.
wasn't like this like fireworks moment that I had worked to achieve for my entire life up to that point. And I was like, man, it's sort of like anticlimactic, like where's the confetti and the fireworks and like the accolades and the cameras and like where's my warm fuzzy? I'm not, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so I started to kind of question it. I was like, maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be. And the reality of what was happening was, like, according to the world that I had lived in for so long, that really should have been like a mountaintop moment. But I had experienced so many greater mountaintops in my journey with Jesus that this couldn't compare. And
Yeah.
so it really became pretty simple. It was just, it was about like, do I want to be my life to be about pursuing this game or about pursuing God? And like, I know what I could tell what my heart wanted, and it was conflicted because there was part of me that was still so attached to
Right.
what I thought was going to make me happy.
Right.
So I almost didn't go. I went to Ball State University up in Indiana, kind of more in your part of the world.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't go. I thought, let me stay close to this girl that I think I'm going to marry, not do a long distance relationship. That sounds good. If I could play junior college baseball locally, that'd be cool. But if not, that's fine. And my mom was the one who said, "You have to go." And I was like, "What the heck? Like, why, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
you're the one who said you can do whatever you want, you know?"
Yeah.
But she was so wise. She was like, "You've worked your entire life to get to this point. If you don't go try it, you're always gonna have regrets about that."
Yeah. Right. Right.
So we tried it. And I think when it comes to discerning our God's will and discerning our vocation, our state in
Yeah.
life, we have to try things. Like that's a really good discernment tool.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and I don't mean like little bitty tastes of things like, oh yeah, I read a book about the priesthood once. Like, no, you didn't try anything. You played with ideas. You know,
Right.
like you go and visit a seminary or go and like journey with a priest for a while or um, or start applying for the seminary and see if the church will even take you, and say, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, we agree that you would be a good priest, perhaps. Let's see what formation does.
Yeah.
Go and take a year or two or three in the seminary and see what happens. Because I think it's that experience that really is where the Lord does his best work. And he's like, yes, this is you fully alive. See, it works. So by the time I got to Ball State, I was like invested, but I was also slowly coming to grips with, okay, I have to leave this. And like, so quitting the team, like I was still crying like a baby in front of my coach,
Yeah.
you know, because it was such a momentous occasion for me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like in hindsight, it was pretty simple. Like I knew I had a lot of peace about it, even though it was really hard.
Yeah. When people ask me about discernment and how do you know, I always say that they you'll produce the fruits of the spirit. Like you might feel some like angst and stress, but once you like make the decision, if you feel peace, I think that's where God wants you to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think like discernment 101, follow the peace.
Yes. I love that. Follow the peace. Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I I think of all these young kids now that are graduating high school or college, and I think a lot of them their worlds have been totally disrupted, right? With this quarantine and will we go
Yeah.
back to school?
Person, good
Yeah,
morning.
yeah. This is Jilly.
Hi,
So,
Jilly.
yeah,
Hi, baby.
man. Yeah.
You're her.
Um, but I love your sentiment. Try, just keep try new things, and it's okay to fail. Like failure is not a bad thing. So I just really appreciate that message.
Yeah, I think especially for young people when your life can pretty easily turn on a dime.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like I spent one semester in Muncie, Indiana, and I quit the baseball team. At the
Yep.
end of that semester, I dropped my major.
Yep.
The next semester, I studied abroad in Australia. Then I came back and broke up with my girlfriend and started applying for the seminary.
Yep.
Like that all happened in a year. And
Wow.
I was 18 turning 19 during that year. It's not.
You're so brave.
Well, thank you.
Sure. I don't think at
Yeah.
18 I could even like I was just like, where's the party? It's true. I think it's like there's also um, we also hear a lot of from parents or family members that family members have left the church and they want to pray that they come back or
Yeah.
they ask, like what can they do, and often they do pray for them, but um, that's often something that we're always seeking counsel on here is what can we do to help those that have left to bring them back.
Yeah, I think it's a big big trending question, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a few things that come to my mind. One is first to be a really good listener and an asker of good questions. Um, Usually, family members are not the ones that are going to fix it,
Yeah.
and so you have to take that idea of like, oh, I'm going to evangelize my family and change them, and take that and put it on the shelf. Because whatever that looks like, it's probably not going to work. Just from like a statistical perspective. Like, can it work in certain family situations? Yeah. But I would say the first thing is like the way that this generation of youth and young adults is effectively evangelized is very different from the way that their parents came to faith. And so, um, whatever the parents had been living in their faith for the child's entire life may not be attractive to that child. It doesn't mean that they won't be attracted to God and faith, but it might have to look a little different. And that's not a bad thing, right? But so I think first we have to have like an acceptance of that fact.
Right. Yep.
So then you have to be able to listen well and ask good questions, right? So, hey, so rather than, hey, you haven't been coming to mass with me anymore, what's going on? Or, um, honey, why aren't you going to confession like you used to? Or,
Right.
I like this new boy you're bringing around, or whatever, right? All those might be true, but I think open-ended questions that just let the person share their journey is really important, right? So, um, yeah, I mean, what could it's hard to do this in the abstract, right? Like unless I have a particular case in front of me, but I
Right.
would say things like, hey, I noticed that we haven't been going to mass all together like we used to, and
Yeah.
I just wondered what your thoughts about that were.
Right.
And then let them talk,
Yep.
and
Yep.
let them lead the conversation, right? Listen for what are the major themes that they're dropping. Like they'll tell you how to minister to them if you listen to them, right? They'll tell you what the next question should be if you listen really well and you don't bring an agenda of like I'm gonna get them going to mass again. Because even if they go to mass with you every Sunday, they still might do it just to get you off their back, and
Right.
they won't have real faith because of that. It won't get them to heaven.
Right.
You
Right.
know, sitting in a pew on Sunday morning is not going to be the thing that gets us to heaven. Certainly isn't going to hurt. It's going to help, but it's at the end of the day, it's so much more than that. You can't just be about trying to get back in a building at the time.
Right. I
So
think you're right. So just starting listening. Sorry, go ahead.
no, okay. So detachment from expectations,
Yeah.
listening, and then doing your homework, right? Because a lot of it these days has to do with like not really being able to think with the mind of the church. If they understood where the church was really coming from,
Yeah.
I
Right.
think it would probably be like, wow, I have more questions. This is really curious to me. I've never considered that. Um, and part of that is a failure on behalf of our parishes,
Yeah.
that we haven't catechized well, um,
Right.
or we've kept it too like lowbrow, while the world is progressing in all kinds of its ways of looking at things and asking tougher questions. Our answer is still simplistic sometimes. So I think we have to go and do our homework, right? So if they come at you with like neo-atheist ideology, how do you speak into that? Well, don't try and shoot it down the first time you hear their biggest rebuttals. Just go, oh man, tell me more about that. Take notes and go do your homework. And then like go watch Bishop Barron and go watch Brandon Vaught and go watch who's the guy who does the Medical Center, out on the West Coast. He used to be the president of Gonzaga University, Father Father Robert Spitzer.
Okay. Okay.
Brilliant mind, who has a great way of taking these huge concepts that are way out of our grasp and saying like, look, this says something about faith, and go read the introduction to Fides et Ratio, Faith and Reason by John Paul II, and then pray, and then come back to your wandering, son in law or whatever, and say, hey, I've been thinking about what you said. Something that I wanted to see, like I wanted to bounce off of you.
Mhm.
We have an invitation to dialogue instead of like, I'm your father. I'm going to tell you
Yep.
how this goes.
Yep.
Why
I
don't we join the roof? Or
Yeah. I think just the just the listening. Because I think we often come in and we're like, no, this is the right way, and that's the only way to do it, right? Versus like actually hearing their perspective. But
Yeah. Yeah, because we can't help them if we don't know where they are and what they're experiencing and the questions that they're being faced with and the objections that they don't know how to answer from their peers are a lot different than the ones that their parents faced off against. And so the parents usually don't have like any clue what kind of journey this has been. Like the world has changed too much to be able to connect and fully understand that.
and and it's changing faster and faster, right? And sometimes it's also information overload, but that can be a gift. But one thing that's always helped me is at any time, I think we had another priest on here recently, Father William. He's in South Bend, but I thought he had such a great point, and he said we need more praying, less preaching. And I thought anytime like I'm struggling with something, I was gonna like write it down or work through it myself, but I need to pray, ask God, right? Ask Him for help.
Yeah.
Anything with friendship, anything, you know. I feel like He hears you. So
Yeah.
this was really great. Thank you. I'll have to. Yeah, is it okay if we post the interview part to YouTube so that people can go back to it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll put it on our channel over at St. Joseph Orlando.
Awesome. Well, this is great.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Really
thank
happy
you.
to meet you, to pray with you and your crew this morning. And
Yeah.
little Julie. Hi, Julie.
Yeah, that's her new thing.
I think I just got to wait. I think I got to wait.
Yeah, you did. Are you waving? So when we started this, I was just like pregnant with her. And so like she's a year now. So it's been almost 2 years. So it's like kind of like wow. But yeah, such a
That's
gift.
awesome.
Thank you so much, Father.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Great to be with you guys. Hope you have an awesome day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye guys.
God bless you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.